Hey guys, today I have an 18-minute mobility flow, which is perfect for an extended warm-up or an extended cool down or standalone on an active recovery day. We're going to flow through 18 different moves, 55 seconds of work, 5 seconds to transition in between. We're going to start at the back of our mat, so make sure you have your mat rolled out, have some space around you for movement. If you like to play music during a class, I have my Spotify linked in the description below. You can find a music playlist down there that you'd like for this class. I will also link a playlist down there. And at the next bell, we're going to go ahead and get started with some walkouts. So a nice generous bend in the knees, walk the fingertips out to a high plank, and then walk back. I'm going to keep a bend in my knees as we start because my hamstrings are tight. If your hamstrings aren't so tight, you can begin to have your legs a bit more straight. So hinging at the hips, crawling forward into that high plank, hugging your butt, and then lifting back as you continue to walk your fingertips back towards your toes. At the next bell, we're going to meet in our high plank. So from wherever you are at that bell, go ahead and crawl yourself back out into a high plank. And at the next bell, we're going to lift our hips up and back into a downward facing dog. Taking some pedals with the feet here. So generous bend in one knee as the opposite heel comes to the ground, and then switching it out. So bring your attention to your hands, spread all 10 fingers nice and wide, and then give a little corkscrew twist to your palm so that your pointer finger is facing the top of the mat and not the middle finger. And then imagine that you're pressing that mat forward and away from you with the palms of your hands and the tips of the fingers. Biceps should be in line with the ears. Your gaze is back. And then bring your attention to those front ribs. Draw them down. Lengthen. Come into a high plank. We're going to come back into a crouching tiger. Lift the hips into a downward facing dog. Wave forward into plank. Draw your hips back towards your heels in a crouching tiger, and then lift your hips into downward facing dog. So continuing this flow with these 3 moves: plank, crouching tiger, downward facing dog. Wave forward to plank, back to crouching tiger, and then downward facing dog. So that movement, that crouching tiger movement, really creates a lot of length from the fingertips to the tip of the tailbone. And try your best to maintain that length as you straighten those legs into that downward facing dog. All right, now we're going to come back into a plank, just going to be here for a second, and we're going to come into some alternating step-ups. So step the right foot up, step the left foot up, press through the heels, come up to stand. Squat down, step the left foot back, step the right foot back, and then alternate. Left foot steps up, right foot steps up, come up. Squat down, chest stays nice and lifted. Step the foot back, step up to a plank. To standing. So it's sort of like a walking burpee here. Warming up the hips, the core, the legs, the arms, just a total body move here. At the next bell, we're going to meet in a standing position. So come back up to standing, feet about hip width distance apart. We're going to bring our fingertips behind our ears for some good mornings. So stick your butt back, work your chest towards parallel to the mat, and then squeeze your butt to come up to stand. Exhaling as you lift, and inhaling as you come down. So that exhale engages our core. Think about drawing those front ribs in and down the entire time, and it's exaggerated as you exhale. All right, staying up here, we're going to come into some body circles. So just go ahead and bring those arms up overhead. And then we're going to turn a complete circle in one direction, stop at the top, and then switch directions. Slight bend in the knees. This feels good in the low back. And again, your knees can be as bent as you need them to be, or as straight is as comfortable for you. Just exaggerate the movement. Let it feel good. And if it doesn't feel right, you can just come into a forward fold, or maybe a mountain pose, standing straight up. All right, come back up to standing. We're going to do some knee Huggins. So grounding the left leg. I'm going to draw the right knee up and in, and then I'm going to slowly lower. Same thing, contract the core, hug that outer left hip in, hug the outer right hip in. And then maybe each subsequent hold lasts a little bit longer. So really awakening that hip flexor on the right, stretching the hip flexor on the right. And flexing those right toes back towards the knee. Finding that focus, that non-moving spot that you can keep your gaze fixed on here. Hugging your buns, squeezing them. All right, we're going to switch that out. So we're going to balance on the right this time. Hug the left knee in. And you'll probably notice that one side is a little bit more stable than the other. Think about that tailbone lengthening down towards the mat as your chest lifts up towards the ceiling. It's funny, I am right-handed, but I struggle more with balance on my right side. Don't know why. So just whichever side it is, just be patient with it. You could always hold on to a wall here. If there was a wall close by, or a chair, or just take it really nice and slow. All right, we're going to come into single leg touchdown, single leg deadlift. So I'm going to ground my left leg this time. My right leg is going to come back. And then I'm going to come up to stand with a bent right knee. So it's kind of a sprinter move. So again, think of lengthening the chest forward. The tailbone is lengthening back. And then bring it up. Inhaling as I lengthen out. And exhaling as I come up to stand. And just be okay with wherever your balance is. And if the coming up and driving the knee up is too much, you can always kickstand the toes. And then come back into that single leg extension. All right, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So give that left leg a little shake out. ground the right foot. Find that point that you can focus on that's not moving. Hug both outer hips in, and then drive the knee and the opposite hand up. So I'm always looking out in front of me. I'm not looking back, even when I come down into that touchdown. And I am squeezing both glutes here, pressing through that left heel as I extend that leg, and then really pressing into the entire sole of the right foot as I come up to stand. Okay, we're gonna do a step back lunge. So I'm gonna ground my left foot. I'm gonna step my right toes back. And for the first half, I'm gonna reach the right arm up and then come back up to stand. So I'm just hovering that right knee above the mat. Head is stacked over shoulders, stacked over hips. And then this next time that I come back, I'm gonna stay down. I'm gonna bring both hands to the inside of that left foot, and I'm gonna come into world's greatest stretch. So an option here is to bring that right knee down, the back knee down, if it helps you to have more space to bring that left elbow to the inside of the left foot. So this is warming up the spine here, warming up the core, stretching the hips. All right, I'm gonna come back up to stand, and then we're gonna do that same thing on the right. So this time it's my left foot that's stepping back. I'm gonna lift that left arm, keeping my joints stacked, head over shoulders, over hips. And then this next time we come back, I'm gonna bring both hands to the inside of that right foot. My chest is lengthening forward. My back left knee can be lifted, or I can be resting it down on the mat. And we're gonna come into that world's greatest stretch. All right, I'm gonna step my left foot up to meet my right, coming down into this nice deep Mulasana squat here. And you can bring your elbows to the insides of your knees and press your elbows into your knees just to open your hips. If it feels good to sway side to side here, you can sway side to side. Making sure that your chest stays open. So you might not be down as low as I am, that's okay. And if you have like a yoga block or something close by and you just want to put that yoga block underneath your buns and sit in this deep squat, that's an option as well. Just beginning to stretch into the inner thighs. And again, lengthening those front ribs down, in and up, keeping that core engagement. I'm gonna bring my fingertips to the mat, and I'm gonna walk my feet in about hip width distance apart, come down into that deep, deep squat again, and then this time I'm gonna straighten into my legs. So I've heard these called bootstrappers. You can also put your fingertips underneath your toes if that feels good. So if your hamstrings are super tight, your knees will probably stay bent, and you won't straighten all the way into the knees, and that's fine. You're still working into those hamstrings, warming them up. And I am squeezing my buns here as I come up to stand. Mindfully drop your shoulders away from your ears, even as you come up into that forward fold. Oh my goodness, this feels so good. Okay, we're gonna slowly come up to standing and we're gonna do some lateral run lunges. I'm gonna step out to the right. Just bring that right elbow to the inside of the right knee and step it back up. So my butt is pointing way back. I'm sitting way back into that right heel. If you want, you can add a chest opener by bringing the right fingertips rather to the inside of the right foot and then lifting the left arm up towards the sky. It's some additional rotation, warming up into the core here. But whatever feels right for you, if it's better to keep your hands at heart center, you can keep your hands at heart center. All right, now we're going to go to opposite side. So I'm going to start with my hands together at my chest. Take a big step out with my left foot. Bring my left elbow to the inside of that left knee. So it's like a squat in the left leg. And now I'm going to come into that open arm twist. So my left fingertips find the inside of my left foot. And then my right fingertips rotate up towards the sky. And so this is our last standing move. We have 2 more moves in this sequence. We're going to be down on the mat. Okay, so go ahead and come into a child's pose, bringing your big toes to touch, knees out wide. Walk your fingertips forward. If you'd like a little deeper stretch in your triceps, the back of your arms, you're going to bring your palms together to touch. You're going to bend your elbows and bring your thumbs to the base of your neck. You can walk those elbows out a little further forward for a deeper stretch into those triceps. So continue to sit those hips back onto the heels, stretching into the triceps. And then coming onto our backs for our final pose here into a dead bug happy baby. So bending your knees, bringing your hands to the pinky edge of your feet, drawing your knees down on either side of your ribs, keeping your tailbone glued to the mat. And then if it feels good, you can press your outer elbows into your knees, just like we did in that Malasana deep squat pose, that frog squat on the mat. And then you can rock side to side if that feels good. You can straighten into one leg and then the other. It's not going to work for me right now. My hamstrings are really tight. But if this is the end of your workout and you've got that flexibility, you can straighten those legs. Otherwise, just continue to draw those knees down towards the mat. Loop your shoulders down into their sockets. And just breathe. All right, my friends, that is it. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little rock and roll up to a seat. Thank you very much for joining me for this important mobility flow. It's so good for us to stretch and lengthen and open. Until next time, keep moving, stay safe, and I will see you on the mat again soon.